Kentucky, flooding is now up to 30. 4 kids have been killed. Let's play some of the footage that we've seen. It's absolutely nuts. They are anticipating more people they'll find, once the water recedes. I guess it's just been like intense, raining. I mean, this is that we're going to get a lot more of this.
What town is this, Bradley?
This is Whitesburg, Kentucky, in eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, right up to the bridge there.
On that side, we've got it covered.
Yeah. Because I can't get a hold of nobody.
Taylor, I'm probably going to stay here for a while. My vehicle.
This is out by the Apple shop in downtown Whitesburg.
Nuts.
Do we know what they calling this, 100-year flood or like a 500-year?
I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it's pretty close, I think.
Yeah.
Because like my experience with flooding, this recently happened in Montana too, near Red Lodge, Montana. A bunch of stuff got swept away, though thankfully not as many deaths. But like I've been seeing like floods that are unprecedented my entire life. Like I went to school in Moorhead, Minnesota, which is right across the river from Fargo on the Red River. 3 out of 5 years that I went to college, shout out to all the super seniors. 3 out of the 5 years that I went there, we had to miss time in the spring to sandbag for 100-year floods. And it's hard to, like, this is where, like, the climate change stuff, I think, is getting through to people. People understand that this stuff isn't normal. You ask any old person about the weather when they're growing up versus the weather now, and they're going to say it's more extreme now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, somebody just said that Trillbillies are from Whitesburg.
Oh, well.
I was trying to see if that was where I've been in Kentucky, but it's not. But I was listening to Democracy Now! This morning, and they were saying that meteorologists say that without climate change, this kind of flooding would be a 1 in 1,000 chance of ever happening. So, I mean, you can directly draw a line from this extreme weather to climate change. And as Matt said, I think people are putting it together. It's just like those 4 kids you talk about, they were all siblings.
Horrible. And this is really just a glimpse, well, not necessarily too far into the future. I mean, obviously it's a glimpse to our present, but the incidences of all these extreme weather things are just going to continue. And it's going to become a massive burden on society. And, how many years is it going to be until that town recovers? I mean, will it?
I mean, what about people that their homes, do they have flood insurance? I mean, who knows, right? Like, untold destruction.
And, I don't know. I've seen like some people saying like, Democrats, I read a piece in I think it's the Louisville Journal by somebody who was upset that there are people on Twitter saying, that's what they voted for, et cetera, et cetera. But, the 2 things. One, you shouldn't put that on Twitter or anywhere.
Red state, blue state culture is bad.
But also to make these broad proclamations because of, 10, 20, 30, even if it's 100, 500 people that you saw on Twitter is just also absurd. The fact of the matter is that there should be attention called to people like Rand Paul, who have voted repeatedly and often against emergency funds for other natural disasters around the country. And this is like, it is both important to sympathize and help to the extent that we can from this distance, folks who are in these situations, and obviously support federal response. But it's really important also the political to make it clear what the politics are around these things and the dynamics around these things. I mean, in many respects, these type of natural disasters are not unlike our health system, right? Like 80% of healthcare costs are borne by 20% of the people. And the problem is that you don't know if you're part of that 20% or 80%, because it can be anybody. And so the whole idea of insurance, I mean, really, in many respects, that's what our government functions as social insurance in this country. The two biggest budget lines that are not military, of course, is the biggest, are Medicare and Social Security. And these are basically social insurance programs. And so isn't, disaster relief, right? Like, we put money into the federal government, and I don't know if we're going to have an earthquake here, or we're going to have a flood in New York, or we're going to have, or what it's going to be. And, but we put our tax dollars in there, and we help out those places that get hit with disasters. And it really, it should be made clear, this is also what we need in terms of like healthcare in this country, where we have a social insurance, because we don't know. It's one thing to say, I'm young, I don't need to pay money for healthcare. And it's like, yeah, that's true, unless you get, I don't know, hit by a bus on your bike. So this is really, it's important to talk about these things.
Politicizing things like this is important, and I don't understand how. There's a right and a wrong way to do it. But
agreed.
But absolutely, politicizing stuff like this is really important and overlooked, I think, by the media.
It's not even politicizing; it's just acknowledging the political nature of it,
right,
and playing on that playing field.
But what's amazing to me is, like, as I'm reading this piece, I guess I just got this stuck in my craw, because this type of stuff, Democrat, I can't even find it. It was, it was some writer in Louisville, and I'm a Democrat, but I'm watching these people, pile on Twitter. And it's like, you know what? First of all, how many people on Twitter, give me a number. If it's 1 million, okay. But otherwise, give me a break.
Yeah, if Ha Kentucky was trending among Democrats, maybe it'd be interesting.
This game that people play, broadly speaking, Democrats are people on Twitter who vote for Democratic candidates. Republicans are just like any lawmaker that is not the one that you're talking about. That seems to be the issue there.
Who are you referring? I didn't even see this
it was just
discourse.
Some piece, but it was some piece. But also, it just reminded me of every sort of culture warrior who is worried about who's making fun of right-wing people, and it all just dovetails into the coastal elite arguments. Give me a effing break.
Yeah, it was this Washington Post. This was where the op-ed, I think, also was syndicated. Maybe
it was the Washington Post, but she's a writer.
Yeah, this local Kentucky writer, Courtney Lucas. She said, I scroll through social media post after social media post of self-proclaimed Democrats, liberals, and leftists declaring the flood some kind of punishment for the Republican-controlled state that Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell calls home.
And I mean, just imagine where are the pieces that are right wingers are drove me to become a Democrat or a liberal because they were so mean online. Give me a break. We'd never see that. It's absurd, because people are adults. And then there are also some jerks online. That is Twitter was built for that.
Yeah, it's toxic.
Gods. Are you kidding? It was literally if you wanted to design a machine to sort of bring out all the a-holes. That's
I mean, you have access to a Louisville paper and and it's going to be picked up by the Washington Post, and that's what you decide to emphasize. Not that hey, we need to have a more.
Well, why do you think that you've got the sequencing wrong? The story comes first, and then they have access.
Of course,
to
right?
It.
Yeah,
that's why. Because that's how you get printed.
That's the Chomsky model there.
Yep.